Join us to ask this: should the government spend more money on defence or on the police? Chancellor Rachel Reeves will set out her big spending review next week, meaning there will be winners and losers as she divides up the budget between her departments. This week, we've been told that defence needs to be a priority. NATO is pushing us to increase defence spending to 3.5% within a decade. Meanwhile, police chiefs say they're worried about cuts. They've warned that they'll have to make stark choices on which crimes to prioritise. Jeremy spoke about it already today. So, what should be our priority? Do we need to bolster national security? Or should our focus be closer to home? Carole, I'm sure you're behind law and order all the way, aren't you?
I'm behind law and order, which we don't have in this country, but I'm totally behind putting the money in defence. You know, this country, you know, the world is now, there's a clear and present danger from Putin. And everyone in the world seems to recognise it except Keir Starmer. And at least it's good that NATO is now recognising it, and they're saying we have to pay at least 3.5%. But you know, the farce this week, this is typical of Starmer. He had promised originally he would increase it to 3%. Last week, we just hear that it's an ambition, it's not a reality. Now NATO says it's got to be 3.5. And he has spent, Starmer, God knows how many millions on this defence spending review, which has just been rubbished by NATO today, basically, because Starmer has promised that he's going to increase submarines, increase munitions, he's going to increase the nuclear deterrent, and he thinks he's going to do all this with 2.5% of GDP spending. It's never going to happen. And when he was asked if he could give specific targets of what he was going to spend, of course he couldn't. And why can't he? Because it's all just waffle and rubbish, like it normally is from him. He's not going to do anything.
Do you think it's strong leadership when somebody jumps to the tune of NATO? They say jump and he asks how high?
If you want to be a member of NATO and you want to be and have NATO's protection, you have to pay the price that everyone else is. And NATO have said 3.5 is the minimum.
Carole, lots of NATO countries haven't been paying, which is why Trump kicked off last year and said, well, we're not going to keep on paying if all those other countries aren't paying. Fact is, NATO are in the business of war. They're always going to want more money from us. They always want us to invest more. You talk about clear and present danger. The danger is happening in our streets now. People don't feel safe. I don't feel safe in this country going down some roads. If my house gets robbed, am I going to call the police?
Do you know,
if I see someone get mugged on the street, do I call the police?
But
Probably not, because we know the police, they already don't attend a lot of crimes because there's not enough of them.
But it's not, there are enough of them. We have the highest number
of them.
I'm sorry. Statistically proven, we have the highest number of cops on our streets than we have had since records began, which was 2000.
That's not true.
Well,
that is true.
That's not true.
Records began in 2003. We have nearly 150,000, which is more than ever.
175,000. Officers decreased between 2010 and 2018. Under the Tories, the police officers
and that's been made up. They have been made up since then. The numbers
have been made up. We're still not where we should be.
Well, I'm sorry, the stats are there.
You can either believe the figures or not, Carole. You can't have it both ways. You can't quote them and say they've been made up. I mean,
I said the numbers of lost police under the Tories in the beginning when Theresa May cut police numbers, which she did when she was in power. Those lost numbers have since been made up.
No, they haven't.
Yes,
they haven't.
Okay, so this is what I've got. This is what I've got here, right? Total police officer strength decreased from 2010 to 2018, but has since been increasing. So 10% increase from the number of police operating in 2003 when they were first recorded by the Home Office, but a 0.7 fall from the peak number of officers in 2010.
So what I said at the start of this conversation, we have the highest numbers now since records began. It's 147,900 and something. So that's nearly 148,000. So that is the highest number since records began. And it's not because we don't have enough cops. It's because cops aren't doing the job they're paid to do.
No,
all chief constables have been. They are complete. They're not stretched. The cops are not tackling real crime anymore. They're tackling. They're tackling real crime. Right, proper burglaries, robberies, thefts, murders, rapes. What they're tackling is perceived hate crimes. What they're tackling is woke crimes.
Right.
What they're tackling is stuff that actually isn't crimes.
Right, JJ.
Look at the instances in the past 2 or 3 weeks.
Nonsense.
They're there.
Oh, OK, JJ, obviously, people place crime and policing very high. We know that when we are polled as a nation, it comes second after the NHS for where money should go.
Yeah.
However, the job of government is to look further down the road and say, look, there is threats to our existence, to our safety as a country. And that's what governments are supposed to do, is not what we want them to do necessarily, but the difficult choices that will protect us in the future.
The job of the government is to protect their citizens. And right now, British citizens don't want more money being put into an army that's going to go and fight abroad. We don't want to go and fight wars abroad. We want to defend our people currently here.
But that's the short-sightedness of people.
That means housing veterans. That means taking money away from foreign lands and bringing it back into the UK.
You brought veterans in to try.
And that's not the trade thing.
So cheap.
No, it's not cheap.
That really is cheap.
Zelensky has said.
It really is.
Zelensky and many experts of war have said, if NATO actually went into the Ukraine-Russia conflict and we're using our drones and using our air forces, the war would be over. We're choosing not to because of the diplomatic
Do you know how much
reasoning.
Ukraine's percentage of GDP spent on defence? 37%. And we're faffing around with 3.5%.
Yeah, good for them.
It's not good for them.
Good for them. The point is, British people...
You think war's never going to happen?
I think British people do not want our money being spent to fight wars
because
abroad.
they can't envisage a war happening. But if and when one happens, what's going to happen if we're not ready for it? Because we are not ready.
We've got 108,000 total soldiers in the British Army.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
We have 108,000.
108,000.
108,000.
I thought you said 180,000.
108,000.
108, yeah. But it's a pitiful amount.
18,000 of them are classed as obese. 30,000 of them are classed as overweight. I'm not putting more of our taxpayers' money into an army where we have nearly 50,000 of them who are now overweight.
Look at some of the cops on our streets. They're overweight too. Stop bringing that's fatuous.
No, it's not fatuous. It's not fatuous at all.
Well, what about obese policemen? There's lots of them.
Okay, I want to take some calls. Billy's in South Ayrshire. What do you reckon, Billy? Where would you put the money? Police or into the military?
Morning all.
Morning.
Yeah, I would put it into police. And there's a wee example I can actually give. Back in 2019, a welcome back party at a local holiday park. I was dancing on a dance floor and a woman who was absolutely out of face on drink and drugs walked up to me. I'm visually impaired and I walk with a long cane. She grabbed my long cane right out of my hands and my glasses well off my face. My mother contacted Police Scotland. My mother works at a local station as a cleaner. Police attended and the woman was escorted off the park, but Police Scotland wouldn't charge the woman under the Scottish hate crime law.
Okay, right. So you're saying you put more money into police. How would that have changed the outcome of your situation there?
Because...
It wouldn't.
I do believe that putting more money into police would make sure that officers receive more training and officers prioritise situations.
I don't know. It sounded like you received an officer. The way they proceeded and took it on from there was the problem. So actually, them being present wasn't the issue there, Billy. It was the way they behaved after that and their ability maybe to see the case through.
Yeah, I mean,
but Billy,
officers should maybe receive more training.
Billy, can I just say, what you're talking about is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a police force that's contaminated by woke ideology, and that's exactly what it is. The hate crime business. It's every chief police constable in this country has been contaminated by this, and that now real crimes, that shouldn't even be a hate crime. That should just be a crime of violence.
It doesn't mean we shouldn't fund the police to do their job. OK, maybe you'd like to change the way it operates, Carole, but
actually... It is not the police's job. You know what? I don't care what the cops think about LGBTQ issues. I don't care what they think about any issue. All I want them to do is to keep our streets safe. I don't care what they think. Keep us safe.
Thanks for your call, Billy. Let's take another call. Linda's in Norwich. Where would you put the money, Linda? Into the police or into defence?
Definitely in defence at the moment. I think war is imminent. I really do. And I think you should take, apart from murderers and rapists, you bring all prisoners out of prison if they enlist in a service and stay there.
OK, we covered this. We covered this a little bit yesterday, Linda. Is it right to put guns into the hands of criminals? Is that the best thing to do with them? No,
because you'd have to train them. But if they don't do what you're telling them to do, then they're back in prison. And I think a lot of them would rather come out, learn a trade.
The killing trade?
No.
OK. Somewhere else in the military where they're not allowed to have weapons. Is that what you think?
No, I'm not saying guns or weapons.
Is that who we really want serving in our military?
I mean,
people that have got their other choice is staying in prison.
Necessarily carry guns and things. There are other parts of the military.
Linda has a good point, I think.
Really
Was it the
does.
French Foreign Legion used to do similar thing? Not everyone in prison is a violent criminal. You've got people in there who've committed fraud and those kind of things.
National Service at the moment also.
Okay.
National Service is a superb idea. I fully support
Okay,
that.
we're gonna take one more call. Thank you for your call, Linda. John's in Essex. Where would you put the money, John? Would you put it in the police or defence?
I would put it in police, definitely.
Okay. JJ's doing an air punch. So why would you go with that, John? Why police rather than defence at the moment?
I'm a serving officer, funnily enough, and basically I can't remember the female
Carole.
person on your
Carole.
Yeah.
Female person, lovely.
Whilst the police numbers may have gone up, the actual number of police officers to the population has decreased.
Okay.
And we are overstretched.
Okay, what do you make of Carole? No, what do you make of Carole's argument then that actually it's wokeness that is preventing you doing the job that you need to be doing, protecting us all?
I think that we are overstretched. We're never going to make everyone happy.
John,
that's ultimately down to government policy. What you don't like, someone will like. What someone else doesn't like, someone else will want. It's all going round and round in circles.
John, can I ask you a question? Do you agree, because this is what's happening now, that police are getting involved in freedom of speech issues, and they shouldn't be, because they're not a crime? And it's happening all the time. Recent one where one of your guys, a retired special police constable, was actually arrested and charged because he sent a tweet that was to a Palestinian protester saying he disagreed with them. Not a rude tweet, not a nasty tweet, just a tweet. He was taken to court and now he's going to get 20 grand compo because the court ruled that you guys had been disproportionate.
Okay.
What are the cops doing getting involved in this stuff?
John, I mean, it's a very specific case there, John.
There's lots of... John, some more?
No, John, do you want a
Give you lots
chance to
more.
answer that, or is it something you have no knowledge about? Tell me.
I don't have any knowledge of that specific case. I know that, obviously, we're under a lot of scrutiny in the public. I know that we have to hold ourselves to certain standards. Is it right that we're held to a higher account? Yes, I agree. But like I say before, you know, what one person doesn't like, another person will like, and we need to try and account for everyone or counter for everyone. And it's just not possible.
Can I ask, John, you know, that we now know that nearly 95% of all crimes in this country go unsolved. What do you put that down to?
Is that true?
It is true.
Being overstretched.
Okay.
Oh, come on. 95% of crimes unsolved. It's because they're not targeting the right crimes. I'm walking my dog in Richmond Park last week. I get stopped by a Met police officer who says, you haven't committed a crime. He spent 20 minutes with me because I didn't have my dog on a leash, which I don't have to by law. He spent 20 minutes telling me off. Is that really your job? Why wasn't that copper out on the streets?
Well, he was on the streets.
Well,
he wasn't. He was in
on the
Richmond
streets
Park.
if he was stopping you.
Stopping you on the park, yeah.
He was stopping me in Richmond Park.
I don't know the circumstances of it.
Well, I've just told you.
That could start off as a part of community engagement. I don't know.
I think Carole, I think stopping you and putting you in jail maybe is the best thing for this country.
Okay, let's take one more call. Thank you, John. Thank you for putting up with being grilled like that. Francesca is in Manchester. Where would you put the money, Francesca? With the police or with defence?
I'd probably put it with defence. However, I understand that both are overstretched because I'm an ex-officer myself, and my husband's actually ex-military, so I know, and he's in the reserves at the moment, so I know what their kit's like. So I would probably put it towards defence because I know that we do need it towards defence. However, I don't agree with Carole all the time, but I agree with Carole a little bit today in terms of the fact I put it towards defence. However, if we put it towards the police, where I do know that they are overstretched, however, with the police, at the moment, they're wasting thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds putting officers through 2-year degrees to go into the police. They'll spend thousands and thousands of new equipment for all these new coppers that have just come out of school, and they can't do the job. And that's what the problem is. There's such a backlog. All the older officers are leaving, and they're absolutely overstretched because there's no one that's experienced in the background.
Okay, the experience. Why are they leaving, Francesca, from what you can tell?
the experienced staff are leaving because they are not being supported by the hierarchy. They're not being supported by the government, so they're leaving. And obviously, we're right on the streets. We have got pepper spray and a baton, and then there's people with machetes. And what they're looking and thinking, right, well, it's now time to take early retirement, because you're having to go through a 2-year degree if you've not got one to get into the service in the first place. It must cost them thousands and thousands, and literally, I would imagine probably 2/3 of officers after they've done their 2-year probation leave. So you've wasted all that money, and you've got to go through recruitment again.
Okay, listen, thanks for your call, Francesca. It sounds like you've got both sides of the argument, police and military, under one roof there. Brilliant stuff, but we're going to have to move on, I'm afraid. Don't forget, later we're going to be asking if phones should be banned at concerts.